students, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Bharti and today I am going to discuss with you a very important chapter from NCERT Class 12, which is the third level by Jack Finney. So I am going to discuss with you a brief summary of the story, and by the end of this video you are going to have a clear idea about the theme of the story and the summary of the story. So one thing that you must know about Jack Finney is that he is a sci-fi writer, which means that he writes science fiction stories. And this is one of the very interesting stories that he has written that children love to read. So without wasting any more time, let's begin. So let me begin by giving you a brief introduction to this story. This story is a work of fantasy. It is replete with fantasy. So in this story you will see that the main character, whose name is Charlie, who is a commuter of the Grand Central Railways, he finds himself on a third level one fine day when in reality there are only two levels. How come he is able to travel to a third level? So that is a complete work of fantasy. That is the creativity of his mind. Secondly, this is an open-ended story, as at the end of the story we see that Charlie makes his friend psychologist Sam also enter the third level. So how does that happen? What is the answer? Does he actually travel back in time, or is it all just a creation of his mind? Is he merely hallucinating, or he actually had an experience of time travel? That is the entire idea around which the story revolves, to which nobody knows the answers. And hence it is an open-ended story and there can be many interpretations in the story. So that's about the story. Now let's begin with a summary of the story. So let me introduce you to the hero of our story, who is also the narrator of the story, whose name is Charlie. And he is just a 30-year-old guy. He's like any other ordinary guy living a very ordinary life along with his wife, Louisa. Louisa is a very loving wife and she loves her husband too much. Now, Charlie has a weird experience at the Grand Central Station where one day when he was returning home from office, he found a third level where in reality there are only two levels at the Grand Central Station. You can think of levels as platforms on the central station. He takes the obvious step that he goes to his friend whose name is Sam. Sam is a psychiatrist and Charlie goes and confesses the entire thing to Sam. He tells him about his experience at the third level and how he reached there. On hearing this, Sam, his psychiatrist friend, dismisses the idea of third level. Rather, he tells Charlie that it is just the imagination of his mind at work. He tells Charlie that you are so bored with your life, you have so much of insecurity, fear and worries regarding your life that you have anxiety, and that anxiety in your mind created a problem. He termed this problem as waking dream wish fulfillment. Now what does that mean? It means that his brain is so desperate to find a solution for the problems around him that the brain has created an ideal world which is away from all these problems, and that world exists in the third level. That is why Charlie's mind is going to the third level, whereas in reality there is no such third level. Hearing this, Charlie gets very upset because he thinks that there is no such thing. He's a very ordinary guy, and how come only he stumbled upon the third level? Psychiatrist tells him that his hobby of stamp collection is also a sign that he's trying to run away from his present back to the past. He's trying to run away from his reality and all his problems and trying to go back to the past world. So this stamp collection hobby is also an example of him trying to take refuge from the reality. On hearing this, Charlie gives the excuse that even President Roosevelt has the hobby of stamp collection. Even his grandfather used to collect stamps, but they were not trying to run away from any reality. They were pretty happy with their reality. So this leaves his thoughts very muddled up and confused, but still he believes in the idea of third level. Now, Charlie takes you through the story and tells you how he happened to reach the third level. So one night when he was very late and working in the office, he wanted to hurry up so that he could go home and reach his wife, Louisa, well in time. While he was on his way in the subway to Grand Central Station, he realized that something was strange. The entire lane was tilting as if towards left side, and it also slanted downwards, to which he had a curiosity that I think I am in the wrong corridor, but still he kept walking. Now when he continued walking, when he reached the end of the tunnel, he saw that he had reached the third level. How did Charlie know that he has reached the third level? How come he was unsure that it is not first and second level? And why is it the third level only? That makes a very important question, and you should know the answer of it. So the answer is that he noticed that the lights were flickering. The lights in the third level were different. They were open flame gas lights, and they were not the usual electric lights. Secondly, he noticed that people were spotting a weird fashion sense somewhere in the 1950s or the 1800s. It was very much in the past, what all he was seeing around him. He had never seen so many designs of mustaches and beards in his entire life. Similarly, the clothing was also different. All these things made Charlie suspicious that maybe he has reached the third level. Maybe this is existing in a different time frame. Later on, he saw the copy of a newspaper, The World, which confirmed his theory that yes, he is really in the past, because The World had not been published for so many years now. So how come he was able to see that newspaper? So when one of the newspapers fell from the hands of the newspaper boy, he checked the date, and the date said 11 June 1894. This confirmed his suspicions that he had really time traveled, and he had reached a third level that was operating in the time frame of 1894. He knew exactly what he had to do. So he went to the ticket booth and he asked for 2 tickets, one for himself and one for his wife Louisa, and he wanted to travel to Galesburg, Illinois. Question may be that why did he want to travel there only? Because he tells you that Galesburg, Illinois was a very calm and quiet place, full of tranquility. It was far away from the tensions and anxieties of the real world. People over there led slower and lazier lives. They had huge lawns in which they would sit out in the evening smoking their cigar and chit-chatting with each other, and there were fireflies all around. So all this made him greedy to reach Galesburg, Illinois in 1894. He imagined it to be the best place and the most beautiful place to be at. But something weird happened. When he decided to buy the tickets for Galesburg, Illinois, the clerk at the ticket booth talked to him very rudely because he was having a different set of coins and a different currency that was prevalent in the modern times. He did not realize that the currency that was used in 1894 was different, and hence the clerk scolded him and told him that I am going to call for the police if you do not run for your life right now. Because of this, Charlie had to run for his life because he hated the idea of going to prison, even in 1894. So, according to Charlie, he left the same way he had came. He just supposed that he left the same way that he had come. Now, he goes back to a library in the present world and he tries to find the same newspaper. It carried a story about President Cleveland, and he was able to find that paper in the library. It confirmed him that yes, he had really traveled in the past and he had really went to the third level. So what did he do? The very next day, he rushes to a bank in his break time and he withdrew almost all the savings that he had, which was almost $300. And he was able to buy nearly $200 in old style bills. Now he had a foolproof plan Along with all his savings, he wanted to Galesburg, Illinois with his wife so that he could set up a nice little business over here and live out his life in luxury. He just wanted to run away from the present world desperately. His wife, when she got to know about it, was very worried about him, and she kept telling him that stop looking for the third level. There is no such level. It's all in your mind. Similarly, Sam, psychiatrist, also had the same things to say about it. But something strange happens at the end of the story. When the author is convinced that yes, there is no third level because I am not able to find it again, just when he was about to accept this reality, something strange happens. Sam, his friend, the psychologist, disappears and nobody knows where. To which Charlie suspects that maybe Sam has reached the third level and that is why he has disappeared. Upon knowing this, Charlie as well as his wife, both of them start hunting for Sam. Every weekend they would go and look for the third level, but they are not able to find it. One fine day, when Charlie is sitting and going through his old collection of stamps, he finds a first day cover. What is a first day letter? A first day letter or cover is a letter that is mailed to yourself from yourself on the very first day that a stamp is issued. So the date confirms that the stamp was issued on that very day. Stamp collectors usually do it as a hobby. So these first day covers are never opened naturally because they just contain a blank letter inside them. When he opened that letter, he saw that it had been addressed to his grandfather in Galesburg, Illinois in 1894. He saw that that letter had actually been written by Sam, the psychiatrist, from third level, and he had gone to 1894. It seemed that he was enjoying the world over there, having a lemonade party, and he had set up a nice little hay, feed and grain business over there. Charlie recalls that Sam always hated the idea of being a psychiatrist. He always wanted to do something like this, having a business of his own, and this was his chance. So psychiatrist writes in that letter that Charlie, first I started believing in what you were saying, and then I myself started looking for the third level. And guess what, Charlie? I found it. So Charlie and Louisa, I am enjoying over here in Galesburg, Illinois, and it's a wonderful place. And I urge you both not to stop looking for the third level, because if you come here along with me, it would be really fun. And that's how the letter ends. Charlie is confused what to do about it, and the story hangs in there for us to reflect and interpret what exactly happened in the story. So there can be two interpretations from the story. One, since it is a work of science fiction, it is possible that Charlie underwent time travel and came back into the present world, whereas his friend Sam permanently went to another time period. It could also be true that Charlie was hallucinating this entire time and none of it is real. He is having severe hallucinations and he needs help. It could be that the proof regarding the first day cover or regarding his psychiatrist disappearing, all these facts have been made up by Charlie himself just to prove to the world that the third level exists. So any possibility is real and any possibility is possible in this chapter. So here it's basically important to understand the theme of the story, which is escapism. What does escapism mean? When do people turn into escapists? People turn into escapists when they want to so badly try to run away from their reality that their mind tries to find alternatives, and their mind creates an alternate reality and they start living in that reality. There are many ways in which all of us escape from our present situation. Children, when you listen to music, or when you meditate, or when you pray to God, or when you try to read an interesting book, or even TikTok, Instagram and PUBG, these are all ways of escaping from our real life problems. All these things give us joy, and so we turn to them whenever we are depressed or sad or in grief. Similarly, for the author, stamp collection was a hobby, but when that hobby could not fulfill his desires, his mind created another reality. He started hallucinating about seeing a third level where things existed in the time frame of 1894. So that was the story, The Third Level. I hope you enjoyed this story. If you have any doubts or any queries, feel free to mention them in the comment box. Thank you so much.